Take the music out of any movie and it instantly gets worse, but not always. Some movies barely use music and still succeed, but that just proves how powerful music really is, whether it's there or not. This video is just appreciating and talking about movies with good music and everything else that might have to do with that. Let me know if there's anything that you've seen that's worth sharing in the comments, but let's just get into the video. I recently watched La La Land and Whiplash for the first time, which is kinda crazy because they've both been out for so long and are both great movies. Both of the movies have great acting.
Sorry.
I'm gonna make it up to you.
Stories.
I'm upset. Louder! I'm upset! You are a worthless...
Cinematography. And finally, music. The music in Whiplash serves as a tempo for how the story is changing. It's different from other movies because the movie is about a musician, or more specifically a drummer who's trying to be great whilst dealing with his intimidating and slightly psychotic band director who's trying to push him to his limits.
Start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
Dying broke and drunk and full of heroin at the age of 34 is not exactly my idea of success.
I'd rather die drunk, broke at 34 and have people at a dinner table talk about me than live to be rich and sober at 90 and nobody remember who I was.
La La Land is different from Whiplash because it's not about music, but a romance story told through music. It's a musical love story about a man, Sebastian, who wants to bring back jazz and dreams to start his own jazz diner, and the lady, Mia, who wants to be a playwright and star actor. The music in this movie is so delicate, but I love how the movie maintains a classical, jazzy love story theme with its music. The song City of Stars emphasizes the feeling of them chasing both of their goals and their chemistry together, which in a later song, Mia and Sebastian's theme, it would signify both of their success and tragic separation. The montage in the end of the movie might honestly be the best use of music in a romance that I've ever seen. The beautiful story coming to an end and dreamy visuals are perfected by the music playing over it all. You need to watch this movie if you haven't seen it yet. The Substance is a movie that sheds light on a few things. 1. The beauty industry standards and how it makes people feel worthless when they age. 2. The unhealthy addiction of approval and fame. 3. Finally, the war against yourself to be who you're expected to be.
So smile! That's what we want tonight! Pretty girls should always smile!
Which in The Substance is literally shown through a fight with the younger and older version of Elizabeth Sparkle. The soundtrack in this movie makes everything so extreme and really throws the story into a different universe. A universe where a workout dance show with barely clothed ladies is the biggest phenomenon, and celebrities like Elizabeth live in a prison of following expectations and being picture perfect. The movie has an incredible soundtrack, with certain sections feeling like a nice sunset and others feeling exactly how the movie looks. A good example of the use of the music in this movie is when she's walking down the street in her bundled clothing trying to hide herself from everyone, and the claustrophobic sci-fi chaos is just blasting in our ears, which puts you right into her shoes. This is another movie you definitely should watch if you don't mind the excessive body horror. I couldn't make a video talking about music and movies without talking about Interstellar. And no, this won't be the only Hans Zimmer soundtrack I'll talk about in this video. Interstellar is my favorite sci-fi movie, and it might be Christopher Nolan's best movie. Hans Zimmer created the masterpiece of a soundtrack, and actually a bit of a fun fact about that is that when he made it, he didn't even get to read the script, but made it with just a small story about a father leaving his child. He didn't even know the movie was sci-fi, which I didn't believe at first because it sounds so space-like. I think that's the main reason the soundtrack feels so human. The soundtrack adds emotion to the story of the film, it makes the visuals and scenes feel even more grand than they are, and I think the most valuable part of the soundtrack is how it gives a strong feeling of urgency. One example that explains this is when they're on the Miller's planet, or the water world, that is so close to the black hole that the time dilation causes 1 hour to be worth 7 Earth years.
Well, every hour we spend on that planet will be 7 years back on Earth.
Gravity.
Something you might have heard before is that the song playing while they're on the planet has a little tick noise that ticks every 1.25 seconds. which is also equal to 1 day on Earth.
Signals coming from here.
Those aren't mountains. They're waves.
Oh shit.
Interstellar got an Oscar nomination for the Best Original Score and other nominations, and the soundtrack is successful even on streaming platforms with almost 1 billion total streams. Another Oscar-nominated movie that soundtrack was produced by Hans Zimmer is Dune 1 and 2. Not to be that guy, but I actually read the books, and I thought this was one of those cases where the movie is just as good as the book, despite a few differences. I watched Dune 2 in IMAX theaters 4 times and a few other times at home, and the reason I watched it in theaters so many times is because I know if Hans Zimmer makes the soundtrack, then it's gonna sound insanely good in theaters. There were scenes during the movie, honestly most of the scenes, where the whole room would shake and you could feel it in your seat. Interstellar is also one of those movies, but I never got to see it in theaters, even when they re-released it for the 10-year anniversary. But back to Dune. The soundtrack for this movie was perfectly done. It sounds out of this world. The music showcases Paul's transformation from the Messiah to a dark, unstoppable force.
Come here. Kneel.
How dare you use the voice on me?
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.
The sounds in this movie were completely new, like the ornithopters and every weapon that there was. Hans Zimmer read the Dune books when he was 14 and even said that he had been imagining the sounds ever since. So he was the perfect choice to make the soundtrack. I could make a whole separate video on just Hans Zimmer. Let me know if you'd want to see that. The only series that I'm going to talk about for this video is Severance, and while the music isn't the most popular part of the show, it definitely stood out to me when I was watching it. The combination of dramatic sounds with such an average office building, the story and ideas in the show are what make it so unique, and maybe even the TV show of the year. Ben Stiller did really well directing it and bringing it to life. Basically, the use of sound, whether it's music or sound effects, is important in making a great film and cinematic experience. Music and movies or shows are my favorite topics to talk about, so thank you for listening for this long. You can check out my store for some different products and to support me. And if you want to see a video better than this one, click one of the videos on screen.